They came in, had us escorted off the property, was going to take over the business. But they did basically try to steal my company and turn it into a Mopar restoration shop.
It's the kind of news that stopped every car fan in their tracks. Bitchin Rides, the show that built Dave Kindig's reputation as a custom car genius, is ending. And not in a gentle wind-down. According to Dave himself, something big happened. Something that changed everything. After more than a decade of transforming rust buckets into rolling works of art, Dave spoke out. The heart of kindig-it design has been wounded, and it's forcing him to redefine what the future looks like. This isn't about ratings or TV drama. It's not about him walking away because of fame, burnout, or a reality TV feud. No, the reason is deeper. A moment that shook him to his core and made him realize the cost of chasing perfection. He hinted at rising tension, financial risk, and a creative burden that he can no longer carry in the public eye. Kindig-it is no stranger to risk. Every build pushes boundaries. But now, Dave is admitting something even he underestimated. Being on TV wasn't just about sharing his passion. It was draining his soul. According to insiders, the final season won't be business as usual. The builds are bigger, the stakes are higher, and the emotional stakes are personal. Dave has teased that the last episodes will go beyond paint and metal. They'll dig into legacy, sacrifice, and the price of creating automotive masterpieces. He's not just closing a show. He's closing a chapter of his life. For fans who have followed the journey from the gritty shop floors to prime time, the news feels like losing more than entertainment. It's like losing a piece of their own passion. And when Dave says, after this happened, he isn't talking about a blowout deal or a car failure. He's talking about an event that forced him to ask, is Bitchin Rides still worth it? Bitchin Rides has been the centerpiece of Dave Kindig's career. Fans tuned in weekly to witness rusted, abandoned cars transformed into stunning, fully customized works of art. The show wasn't just entertainment, it was a masterclass in automotive craftsmanship, creativity, and the unrelenting drive of a man obsessed with perfection. But behind the cameras, the reality was far more complicated than viewers ever realized. Dave Kindig has always been known as a meticulous perfectionist, a man who can spot flaws in a weld or an alignment from across the shop floor. His talent is unquestionable and his passion infectious. But being on television meant more than creating jaw-dropping vehicles. It meant deadlines, producers, sponsorship demands, and constant scrutiny. Each season brought larger builds, tighter schedules, and more expectations. For years, Dave juggled the challenges, pushing his team to achieve what many deemed impossible. But over time, the strain began to show. Insiders reveal that the breaking point came during a particularly complex season. The builds were larger, the deadlines tighter, and a key sponsorship deal fell through at the last minute. Dave was forced to make critical decisions under immense pressure, balancing creative integrity with financial realities. He realized that the essence of Bitchin Rides, the artistry, the storytelling, the joy of creation, was being overshadowed by obligations he couldn't control. The shop, that had always been a place of inspiration, began to feel like a stage for constant performance. Adding to the strain was the personal toll. Long hours, travel, and relentless focus on perfection meant missing family events, birthdays, and quiet moments at home. Dave has always valued his team like family, but the show's demands amplified stress, leading to tension even among trusted colleagues. Every late-night session in the shop, every call from a producer, reminded him that the show's success came at a personal cost he hadn't fully accounted for. And then came the moment that changed everything, an incident that forced him to confront a question he had long avoided. Is Bitchin Rides still worth it? According to Dave, this event was the catalyst for the decision to end the show. It wasn't dramatic, not scandalous, but it revealed the hidden price of television fame and creative perfection. Suddenly the stakes were personal, the future uncertain, and the only option clear. Close this chapter before it compromised everything he had built. Fans watching the latest season will notice subtle changes. More focus on the people behind the builds, stories of personal triumph, and moments of reflection from Dave himself. These are the hints of a show transitioning from ongoing entertainment to a legacy project. In farewell to a journey that has inspired thousands of automotive enthusiasts worldwide. The question now is not just how the final builds will look, but how Dave will navigate this unprecedented shift, balancing passion, legacy, and the personal costs of a career that has defined him for decades. The decision to end Bitchin rides didn't happen overnight. For Dave Kindig, it was the culmination of years of stress, creative pressure, and the relentless demands of reality television. While fans saw only the polished builds and the entertaining drama, behind the scenes, the process was intense. Every car required countless hours of planning, fabrication, and testing. And the cameras were there for every frustration, every setback, and every triumph. The line between work and life blurred, and the joy of building began to feel like a performance instead of a passion. One particularly challenging season pushed him to his limits. A major client requested a build that pushed the boundaries of the shop's capabilities. While Dave thrives on challenges, the deadlines imposed by the show's schedule were unrealistic. Fabrication delays, shipping complications, and miscommunication with suppliers piled up. Every night, he stayed at the shop long after the crew had left, welding, grinding, and troubleshooting. Sleep became scarce, and the joy of creating was replaced with exhaustion. Even the team he trusted began to feel the tension. While they admired his dedication, they also worried about the toll the constant pressure was taking on him personally. Then came the turning point. During one particularly stressful week, a serious accident occurred in the shop. No one was severely injured, but it was a wake-up call. The event forced Dave to confront the risks inherent in the work, the exhaustion that had been building, and the unsustainable pace the show demanded. It became clear that continuing under these conditions could compromise not only his well-being, but the quality of the builds and the safety of his team. The incident ignited a period of reflection. Dave asked himself the question fans had never considered. What was the ultimate goal? Was it to continue producing television content for ratings, or to ensure that every build met the high standards he had set for himself over decades? He realized that Bitchin rides had become a double-edged sword. While it elevated his career and brought widespread recognition, it also imposed limitations and pressures that were incompatible with his values as a craftsman. Financial considerations also played a role. Producing a television show of this scale is expensive. Sponsorships and partnerships were changing, and while the show remained profitable, it required compromises that Dave was unwilling to make. Every decision became a negotiation between creative freedom and commercial necessity. Ending the show allowed him to regain control, remove external pressures, and refocus on the aspects of car building that mattered most: creativity, quality, and authenticity. By the time Dave announced the conclusion of Bitchin rides, it wasn't a hasty decision. It was a carefully considered step to protect the integrity of his work, the safety of his team, and his own personal life. The final season would not only showcase extraordinary builds, but also tell a deeper story about passion, sacrifice, and the costs of pursuing excellence in the spotlight. Fans would witness more than just cars. They would see the dedication, challenges, and heart behind every creation, offering a rare glimpse into why the show had become a beloved institution. As production continued on the final season of Bitchin rides, Dave Kindig and his team faced a unique challenge: how to honor the show's legacy while also protecting the future of kindig-it design. The builds had always been larger than life, each vehicle pushing the limits of creativity, skill, and engineering. But now, the focus had shifted. The goal was no longer just to impress fans or networks. It was to craft a meaningful farewell that captured the essence of everything the show had represented over the years. Dave approached this with the meticulous care that had made him a legend. Every project selected for the final season carried significance, either as a tribute to longtime fans or as a showcase of the team's most ambitious skills. These cars were not just machines, they were stories, each reflecting the evolution of kindig-it, the relationships built along the way, and the lessons learned from decades of automotive craftsmanship. Behind the cameras, Dave guided his team with both patience and intensity, knowing that these builds would be the final testament to their hard work, creativity, and dedication. Yet the emotional weight of the finale was hard to ignore. Employees who had been with him for years were navigating the bittersweet reality of the show's ending. Many had grown alongside Bitchin rides, their careers intertwined with its success. While excited about the opportunity to craft extraordinary vehicles one last time, they also felt the uncertainty of what came next. Dave recognized this tension and made a conscious effort to reassure his team, emphasizing that the end of the show did not mean the end of kindig-it. The shop would continue, but it would shift focus from television production back to custom car projects, giving the team more creative freedom without the constant gaze of cameras. Fans, meanwhile, were learning of the show's conclusion through social media, interviews, and news articles. The response was intense: disbelief, sadness, nostalgia, and admiration all mixed together. Comments ranged from heartbroken reflections on favorite builds to gratitude for the inspiration the show had provided over the years. Some speculated about the reasons behind the ending, while others expressed concern for Dave and his team. Yet behind the fanfare, Dave remained focused on what truly mattered, completing the final builds with the same passion, precision, and innovation that had defined Bitchin rides from the very beginning. As the final episodes were filmed, Dave also reflected on the personal impact of the show. Television fame had brought opportunities, recognition, and influence, but it had also demanded sacrifices: time with family, personal moments, and the freedom to explore creativity on his own terms. Ending Bitchin rides wasn't a retreat. It was a reclamation of autonomy. It allowed Dave to redirect energy into projects that truly mattered to him, including unique builds for clients, community initiatives, and mentoring the next generation of custom car designers. Ultimately, this season was more than a farewell. It was a celebration. Every car, every build, and every moment captured the essence of what Bitchin rides had always stood for: passion, creativity, resilience, and the relentless pursuit of excellence. Dave knew that leaving the spotlight wouldn't erase the impact of the show, and that the lessons, friendships, and achievements forged along the way would endure long after the cameras stopped rolling. The final chapter of Bitchin rides is as much about closure as it is about legacy. For Dave Kindig, ending the show wasn't just a business decision, it was deeply personal. It was the moment to acknowledge the incredible journey he and his team had undertaken, while also reclaiming the creative freedom that had become increasingly constrained by the demands of television. After more than a decade, he faced the challenge of saying goodbye to something that had defined him publicly, while ensuring that the essence of kindig-it design remained intact behind the scenes. The last builds of the show were symbolic in every sense. Each car represented milestones in Dave's career, lessons learned, and the innovation that had made him a household name among car enthusiasts. The team approached these final projects with reverence, understanding that they weren't just finishing episodes. They were creating a lasting testament to the culture of Bitchin rides. Fans watching could sense the emotion behind every weld, every brush stroke of paint, and every moment of problem-solving under pressure. It was more than a show. It was a heartfelt farewell to a chapter of life, a story told through steel, rubber, and ingenuity. While the cameras captured these final projects, Dave also focused on the people who had supported him along the way. His team members, some of whom had been with him since the earliest seasons, were given recognition, both on screen and personally. Dave emphasized that the end of the show did not mean the end of their work or creativity. Kindig-it design would continue, but now it could operate on Dave's terms. More intimate projects, experimental designs, and builds that prioritize passion over deadlines. The shift allowed the team to focus on quality, innovation, and mentorship, rather than television metrics or ratings. Fans had mixed emotions. Many were heartbroken to see Bitchin rides end, expressing their gratitude for the inspiration it had provided. Social media filled with reflections, photos of favorite builds, and appreciation for the artistry Dave had brought to the screen. Others speculated about the reasons behind the decision, often imagining drama or disputes, but the reality was simpler. Dave wanted authenticity over spectacle. He wanted to ensure that every project, whether filmed or not, reflected his vision without compromise. In reflecting on the show's conclusion, Dave shared a final thought. Bitchin rides was more than a TV show. It was a way to push creativity, inspire people, and celebrate what passion can achieve. Ending it doesn't mean the end of kindig-it or our vision. It's just a new beginning. For Dave, this was an opportunity to take control, protect his team, and continue building incredible cars on his own terms. The story of Bitchin Ride's ending is a reminder of the delicate balance between fame and fulfillment, deadlines and dreams, and public success versus personal satisfaction. Dave Kindig's decision shows that sometimes the bravest move is not to chase more recognition, but to step back, reclaim control, and ensure that passion remains untainted. Fans may miss the weekly episodes, but the legacy of creativity, dedication, and innovation will live on, both in the garage and in the hearts of car enthusiasts worldwide.